Hey guys, me and the pup out for a stroll at dusk here. It's too hot to go earlier today, so we're just as the sun's going down, we're gonna see if we can get a good hike in. We're beside Victoria International Airport, so you'll have to excuse if there's a little bit of loud noises when the planes take off. So, a little bit of a different video this time. Today I'd like to talk about time management on the farm. Time management for me on the farm is sort of the conscious effort to plan and organize and assign different amounts of time to all the different tasks that have to get done. So in my opinion, this is key because no matter how big your farm is, no matter how big your operation is, or how small it is, you will never get everything done that you want to get done. You know, whether you do this full time and you've got, multiple acres to take care of, or whether you're just doing this as a hobby to get more organic vegetables for your family and you've got, one or two raised beds on a little plot, it doesn't matter your size. Time management is essential because quite likely, if you're a smaller gardener and you've only got a few beds, you've probably got a full-time job. So you cannot dedicate 8 hours a day to hanging out in your garden. You can't dedicate 8 hours a day to getting all you need done. And you can't dedicate 8 hours a day to doing all the stuff you want to do. So it comes down to time management. Much like all these methods that I do in the garden, time management is just another tool that you can use to maximize the productivity of your organic garden. And so for me, time management starts with the prioritization of tasks. It sounds so simple, but it's the key to everything. And this prioritization, it's different for everybody. You can prioritize the stuff you want to do, because if you're not doing what you want to do, you can easily become unmotivated and you don't want the garden in the first place. So if you're that kind of a person and you have that kind of a setup in your garden, well, then you have to prioritize what's fun, what you get enjoyment out of. And that's okay. Everyone's going to be different for what they prioritize. Conversely, if you're doing this for a living, you have to prioritize what's going to generate the most income for the least amount of effort. Not oftentimes, it's not just about generating the most income. It's about minimizing the loss of income. If a crop's going to fail if you don't do a certain task. So let's do an example of that. Let's say you were an eggplant farmer, okay? And say you had 3 tasks that you wanted to get done or had to get done at some time on the farm. Say one of those tasks was you had a bed that was dying out because the irrigation broke. So you had to fix the irrigation. And it's, say it's right now, the middle of summer. Okay? Task number 2. You had a bunch of starter plants that were super advanced. They needed to get out of their pots and they needed to get into a new bed. Okay? Then you had task number 3. Task number 3 was you needed to put time into marketing because, in 4 to 6 weeks, you were going to have a crop and you got to find the end buyer for it. So, how do you prioritize that? If you don't sell your product, the other 2 tasks are meaningless. Who cares if you fix the irrigation and grow some great eggplant out of that if you can't sell them? Who cares if you plant even more eggplant from the starter plants if you can't sell them? So someone might prioritize that. On the flip side, so you're confident you could get the marketing done later, which of the other 2 tasks is more important? You could make an argument for, well, I've already put the work into that one bed. All I got to do is fix the irrigation. And then those plants will take care of themselves and produce and do all those wonderful things. So that kind of leaves number 2 task as kind of the odd one out. Like, I can't see a scenario where that would be prioritized over the other ones. The only way possibly is if the one bed that was dying because it was drying out was too far gone, and it was a risk that it would fruit and give you fruit that was marketable, fruit that was sellable. So now you're getting the idea of time management. It's not so cut and dry, there's no one formula. You got to apply what works for you in your garden. And so for me, I've got a few criteria that'll bring certain tasks up the prioritization list. One is plants dying. If I've gone through the effort to put them in the bed or put them in the pots, and it's a small amount of effort to fix that if they are dying, either water or they need mulch or soil, that becomes a priority. Another thing that would move tasks up the prioritization list is if that task affects multiple crops. Say I had to make a batch of fertilizer, or say I needed a batch of an organic pesticide because several crops were being affected by this. Then that would be a priority, because finishing that task has the greater effect. I can solve multiple problems doing one task. So what do you do if you have all these tasks and it's getting quite overwhelming, but they're all equal? They all have the same level of urgency, the same level of prioritization. What do you do then? How do you categorize them? Well, there's several ways you can do that. One, a lot of people like to tackle the biggest task first because that's the most daunting. Once it's out of the way, then other ones, just fall like dominoes. Other people are different. Other people, they want to tackle the smallest task, the easiest ones right away, because then you're knocking out multiple things off your to-do list, building up confidence, building up motivation that allows you to then go tackle the bigger tasks later on. And to me, that's just your personality. Which one do you fall under? And for me, I could do both. Some days I like tackling the big one because I know I'm not going to want to do it later. And other days it's like, no, I need to knock 8 things off my to-do list. I'm just going to pick the smallest things, so it makes my to-do list look a lot smaller, even though the amount of work is still the same. So the other thing I'd like to mention too is that being a farmer is very unique for time management, because plants grow and they do a lot of the work for you. And that has to be factored in when you're prioritizing these lists of tasks. Say you have all these things to do on the farm, like you got to weed this bed needs mulching, you got to do this marketing, you got to fill out the farm stand, all these things. But if one of those tasks is planting something, I often choose to get that thing in the ground, because then those plants continue to work for you, right? They become part of your army. Get those plants in the ground, get them working for you. Once they're in there taking care of themselves, then move on to other tasks. To me, that's super important. You always have to remember that these plants, when they're growing, are working for you. So the sooner you can get them in, it's almost like you've delegated them the task of living and producing. And the faster they get in the ground, the faster they can start working for you. One other thing I'd like to note, much like all the other skills involved with organic gardening, you get better at time management as time goes on. And the reason for that is you get a more accurate gauge of how long things take. You might think, oh no, weeding that bed, that's going to take me 2 hours, when in reality, might only take you 20 minutes. So having a more accurate reflection of how long tasks take means you're more effective as a time manager. And being more effective as a time manager means you can get more done in a less amount of time. I know for a lot of you, this might sound like it takes the fun out of gardening. Yikes. But it really doesn't. It doesn't at all. You know, I met so many people, the greatest joy they get out of gardening, other than eating organic vegetables, was the planning, the designing, you know, the visualization of what you want your garden to look like. And time management. It's just a feather in your cap to make that a reality. So I don't want to make it seem like you have this inner drill sergeant that's like, you've got to spend 10 minutes on this, 17 minutes on this, Of course that's not the case. But you also don't want to go, you say you work 40 hours a week and you've got Sunday afternoon to dedicate to gardening. You don't want to go back there and twiddle your thumbs and be like, I've got too much to do. I'm not going to do anything because I don't know where to start. If you got a plan, even if it's a small plan, your garden will be that much more successful because of it. So anyway, I hope that was an interesting video. A little bit different than what we've been doing lately. More conceptual theory than actual practice like we've been doing. But I feel like it was important to note nonetheless. So hopefully, you know, you took something away from the video. You know, in terms of seeing time management in action, as we start going into different seasons on my channel here, right now we're in summer. So as we go into fall, there'll be more activity on the farm. You know, right now it's just watching crops grow, watering them, harvesting them, selling them. You know, there's not too much prioritization going on right now because I've kind of got a system that's like a well-oiled machine. But as we transition into a new season, which will be fall, that's when everything goes wide open and you're just running around with your head cut off. So hopefully we can revisit this time management concept and apply it to the transition from summer to fall gardening. And then you guys can really see how you can benefit from it. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone that's subscribed so far. You know, I appreciate the support. Hopefully many more of you will hit the subscribe button down below. That'd be fantastic. And as always, leave some comments or observations in the comment section. I'd like to hear what everyone else is doing. In this case, you know, how do you manage time on your farm? All right, guys, I'll see you next time.